Hey folks, Jonathan here, back with this zombie engine here, and I'm going to reveal how I done this, but I'm going to actually pull it apart to make it easy where you can actually see how I done it. Some of you may or may not know, we've got this posted on 2 or 3 different forums, and we've had a lot of guesses. We've had everything from electric motor inside to dieseling. A lot of people think that it's dieseling, and with diesel fuel in the crankcase. And let me see, RC motor inside, electric, you name it. But it's actually a whole lot simpler than that. And I'm gonna go through and show you. And just a couple things. Of course, everybody knows, or most of you will know that 4 things to make an engine run: timing, compression, fire, and fuel, of course. And timing and compression is 2 things that we really didn't mess with. We did lower compression a little bit, but not on purpose. But the fuel and the firing was what we was working with. And some of you may know that there's a few different ways to govern an engine. And when I say govern an engine, I mean controlling the speed of an engine. On your car, it's throttle governor, because you're controlling it with your foot, which is operating a throttle. And a hit and miss engine, governs it by hitting and missing. I mean, that's basically what it's doing. And it's got a flyweight. And this, to make it run without a throttle whatsoever or any kind of a governor, the real way to control this would be airflow. And that would be the amount of air coming into the engine, allowing it to only run at a particular speed. And that's something that had to be played with. And I've actually got a lot more time in this thing than I'd ever wanted to put into it. And there was a couple other tricks I was going to do to it and that I didn't do, and because of time wise, I needed to get on to some other stuff. And but here, if you look at these, I'm sure you know what them are, or some of you will. Them are venturis. And basically what you would find in a carburetor. And these are 2 different size venturis, and this is 2 of many that I made, including a couple. One I actually lost. This thing backfired and shot it out of the intake port, and I never found it, and went off like a shotgun. And one of them, of course, shot out, and I was able to recover it. But playing with that was basically playing with the speed. And between that and adjusting the fuel, which I'll show you here in just a minute, you'll see exactly how that worked. I had some folks that thought that it actually was the muffler, and that the engine was running backwards, and it was actually, I had the fuel system, whatever, in the muffler, which good guess, but it wasn't it. I go ahead and pull the muffler off, and like I said, the muffler is 100% stock, no different than any other muffler on any lawnmower. The thing that you didn't see, and some of you had said something about it, was the intake port. And you see that venturi, the final venturi, and I just shot a little black on that. And if you noticed in the video, my thumb was black, and that was from the paint that I actually shot over that, just to keep it, because it was machine billet aluminum, so to keep from being able to see it. But we're going to pull this cover off, and I've only got a couple bolts in it, and this will start showing you more of the reveal real quick of how this is done. And I had this cover on and off, probably a record for a Briggs & Stratton, 100 times, maybe more. But here is what you didn't see. That is a homemade gas tank and fuel line. And now I ran this fuel line first with a check valve in it. Didn't want to do good. I don't know whether it was the weight of the check valve or what, but we decided to run without that. You can see this is actually oil pressure line, and same thing you would get at Advance Auto or anything to run your oil pressure. And I'm going to take this tank off, and then I'll show you some more of it. Hold just a minute. Okay, now you can see the fuel lines running around, and it's running into a T, and you can see an adjustment, which is just a needle valve. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but if I look down, I don't think so. But what happens is there's a fuel nozzle that comes through, and as this air is pulled through, and of course this venturi is increasing the velocity of the air, it's pulling across the fuel nozzle and increasing the vacuum and actually pulling the fuel up and you know, out of the tank and through. Now this needle adjustment is very, very, very fine. I ran it with different venturis, and it would run at different speeds. Of course you had to adjust the fuel to match that, but that adjustment can be moved either way and completely change the whole, you know, the whole ball game. You can flood it really easy, you can lean it really easy, and so that's a real critical part. And all I've got is one hole drilled into the port of the intake, and just enough for that nozzle to go through. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this nozzle out and show it to you, because you know, it's not a problem. It's just JB welded in real good, and or actually JB Quicks is what I use, because I'm always in a hurry. But I'll show you the nozzle. Okay, here's my nozzle. Now all this is an inflation valve that goes on the end of an air piece for a basketball, football, kids ball, whatever you want to call it. And I'd cut it to length, so when it goes in, it's actually sitting in the center of that hole. And when it pulls the air through, of course, like I said, it creates a vacuum on that and pulls it out. And in the bottom side of this, there's a small hole, and of course this needle actually screws up into that hole, and that works as the jet. So pretty simple setup. This is all there is to it. Kind of an aggravation to get running right, but pretty simple setup. And for the firing, you can see this right here. That's silicone I've got on it just to help insulate it. But I'm going to go ahead and pull the head gaskets, or pull the head off, and I'm going to show you what I've done to make us fire without the spark plug. Where you can see how I'm running this, and hopefully the gasket will, yep. Alright, okay, all I've done was tee it in to our coil wire, come in, and this is actually a piece of copper wire that I've smashed and ran it between. I've got 6 head gaskets on here, and these are all gaskets I made because you don't want anything conductive. I mean, you don't need it arcing off before it even gets in the cylinder, but smash the wire, and this is household wire, just like you get out of your wall, you know, just take the insulation off. And this actually arcs out to the top of the head, and like I said, there's 3 gaskets on the bottom, 3 on the top. The last 2, the top and bottom gasket, I left a lip on to help insulate it, and then I slid heat shrink over the, you know, and shrank it there to try to insulate it. And I had it running with 4 gaskets, 2 on each, you know, it's 2 top, 2 bottom, and it would run, but every once in a while it would spark off, and I added 2 more, and you know, that's where we lowered our compression a little bit, but not much, and just brought it in and soldered it into our coil wire, and that's why we was getting fire on both wires. And plans was to actually take this plug hole, and I was going to cut a, you know, round piece out and take this hole up so I could take the plug out while it was running. That's still something that can be done later. You know, it runs just as good on this as it does on that plug, if not maybe better. You know, and the other thing I did that I didn't show on this engine is there is a hole in this port inside the exhaust, and what I did was actually come up through at an angle and with a long drill bit, and I drilled a hole in it, about a 1/4 inch hole. And so while this engine's running, I can actually take that muffler off, and I can screw a pipe plug in there. And you know, I've done it many times here, and it quietens it down a lot. It just, all it does is deflect the air down, and you don't notice it, and you know, it just another trick. I mean, that's all it is. You know, all this is all the any of this is, but that's how it's all done. And you know, it's definitely not magic, and it's not that hard to do. So if anybody wants to do it, needs a hand, let me know. And I'm going to be posting some video of the build, you know, of some of the things I ran into, because this is, you know, jumping in there and doing it is a lot tougher than what you would think. You know, you're not reinventing the wheel, but you're darn sure changing the shape of it. And you know, getting this thing to actually run to start with was pretty rough, because I was starting with an engine that didn't run, and that tank was really dirty inside, and the carburetor was just corroded all up. I mean, you know, there wasn't no use really messing with that. But I'm going to make a big suggestion here. If you ever do this, start with a running engine. Had a lot of problems because of had an intake valve that was not seating proper. A lot of little problems like that. Get your engine running first, and then do one thing at a time. You know, do your fuel system first. Once you get it running right, then do your firing, or vice versa. Just, you know, do it one at a time, because if you try them both and then you have problems, you don't know which it is. Pretty simple to do. Will amaze a few folks. And here's another way that you can do it. I would have had to dig up a little bit inside that head to have room, but this head's no good anyway. But as you can see, there's a spark plug, and that would have been hidden under the cover. It would have been easy to hide that, but I wanted to be able to tell you that there was, you know, one spark plug, one carburetor, and this is definitely not a carburetor. This is a fuel mixer, and it's not even really considered a fuel mixer, because a fuel mixer would be a separate body and not made into the intake port. So, and I may be, you know, get called on that. Hey, it's a carburetor, but it's not a carburetor. It's like calling a reaper a combine. You know, it was never a combine until you started adding a threshing machine and, you know, to combine everything together. So it's definitely not a carburetor. I have got another engine getting ready to start on that is actually going to be variable speed. Another trick engine. You will definitely have trouble figuring it out. And it's I'm going to say it's simpler, but it's more complicated. It's kind of odd, but that's the way it is. And you'll get to see it pretty soon. And see if you can make some guesses on it. And I appreciate everybody that watched this, and everybody that commented, and all the guesses out there, because there was quite a few. I think there was 42, 43 posts just on Garage Journal, and you know, I had fun with this, and I hope y'all did too. And like I said, getting somebody to reveal this stuff is the hardest part, because you know, these things have been around for quite a while and nobody shows it. But this is my way. Just say this is not a way that, you know, some old timer showed me how to do it, and this is the way that I decided to do it. So that's why I decided to show it. And like I said, please subscribe if you haven't, and you know, keep an eye out, because I'm doing a lot of stuff. I've got a steam engine that I'm working on that it's going to be kind of amazing too when I'm done, because I'm doing something a little different with it. So but again, appreciate everybody. Until next time, bye.